Yeah, go ahead.
The last session I had with you was just 1 second. It
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So the last session was very interesting to look at how words are so impactful, and the introduction that you gave me to
Mhm.
NLP. Um, the mind has now started observing the words I'm using, very consciously aware, and then trying to reframe it that sounds positive.
For
So that
example,
um now if someone is harsh or rude, instead of saying um, why are you so rude? Instead of that, I would say be kind,
okay.
you know. So immediately I noticed the person's um, body language soften. Instead of becoming defensive and proving themselves or justifying themselves, or getting into a session of um, why, what,
Mhm.
or or trying to get back at you. Immediately the body language softens, and the head just goes down, because the word kind is such a soft word. So the
Mm.
body also behaves in that soft manner. I don't know if it was right or wrong, but I just tried to reframe my sentence instead of you know using words that instigate someone to be more aggressive.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was my little experiment. And then there are others, but I nothing that I can recollect now. It's like at that moment I try to recorrect my sentence.
Okay.
But nothing that, because I was like, it's a conversation you're having when you're walking, and then you don't see how the other person's reacting. But my mind is trying to reframe sentences.
Brilliant. So last week we talked about a concept called lucky.
Yes,
You remember? So where we are
yes,
talking about that, are you leveraging the universal chest of knowledge for yourself?
correct.
So did you reflect on that? Did you get an opportunity to
Yeah,
reflect on that?
I did reflect on that because that word is, for me, I realized that word is used very loosely. There was
Mhm.
no like, like one of those things like you throw it onto, well, it's not in my fate, it is in someone else's fate to be lucky. Or if something happened, oh, it was a very loose word. I never related it that the way you explained, that it is in sync with the universe. But that is the when you and then I started noticing patterns. Like I walked into a store, and since I'm traveling right now, so I walked into a store, and it happened to be out of the blue, someone comes from the corner of the store and says, here's an extra 10% off for today. And earlier I would say, uh, the right place at the right time, or you know I was just lucky to get that extra. But I didn't understand that when you're in sync with the universe, um the universe sends you messages like this, that yes, you are in sync. The random finding a coin here, or getting an extra something off, or someone coming and telling you that, oh, this is on the house for you. And I never understood those things as being in sync with the universe. Yeah, the word lucky was used very loosely, but now to understand that actually you are in sync, and the universe has to send you messages to reconfirm, that you are okay, you're on the right track, continue.
Mm.
So I picked that beautiful uh, takeaway from what you had said, that today I don't use the word lucky so loosely. It's not, someone else is not more lucky than me, or someone else has not got the luck. It is they are in sync with the universe and they know how to pick up these messages from the universe.
Very
And
true.
the universe doesn't have to give it to you in bucket loads. It can be sending you the silent messages. Now you're in sync. So now go forward and uh, work towards your path. Then what is in your, uh, what is meant for you will flow towards you. Whether it's in a
Mm,
relationship, whether it is in your financial situation, whether it is in your career, whether it is in your um, journey in life, your purpose in life. Just these silent messages are just reinforcing. Go on, you're there. You are lucky.
absolutely. Like the way we got connected is also an example of that,
Yes. Yes.
isn't it?
And I think this is so beautiful the way the universe plays its part. And we just take all these things so loosely and so for granted. Uh, it's only when you sit back and reflect that when you are in sync, when you're truly lucky, the way you have explained that word, the, each person in your soul family comes and assists you in your journey. Someone nudges you from here, someone nudges you from there, because this was all a contract that we all signed.
Mm,
Just that we chose to erase and go into amnesia before we took this birth. And
so true.
it is now when you are in alignment, actually, you start seeing all that you already knew, just unfolding through your soul family. So for me, that reflection has been there for a while, and you just sort of brought life to a lot of words that are used very loose. So
Mm,
you're giving each word its each sound, each word, each alphabet, its true resonance of why and how to make it resonate with the universe. The sound is everything. We use it so loosely. We don't give the words, like you said, every word has a story.
mm,
It is formed from a story. As you keep moving upwards, you keep forming new vocabulary, and then you correlate them, correlate the words to. Then you add more information to that word. So the way I use words, the way you use words, the way someone else may use words is all through their own life stories.
mm,
But for someone to actually teach you that there's a universal meaning to each word, it's not your learning of how the word should be used or his or hers, but if you actually form like a new dictionary of how these words are to be used, I think we'll all be in sync. So it's like when I joined a course to uh, learn the Alexander technique. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it. Uh, it originated in somewhere in Europe, and it was basically unlearning how to use this body and
mhm.
relearning how to use this body, how to sit, how to stand, how to walk, how to use this body efficiently, how to use the spine, how to use the neck, how to use the your legs, how to use your knees. Who has ever taught us how to use this body efficiently? Same way, who has actually taught us how to use these words efficiently? I, I
Very
don't
true.
think we've ever been taught how to use the words efficiently. So I'm truly grateful for this connect. Thank you.
Like, like this is how I say that what is a word? A word, any word for any human being, the title of a story of his life event.
Correct.
So every
So
word that
powerful.
you learn, it's basically a title of a story of your life event.
Right.
Some life event, and you relate that life event with that word. So every time you think of that word, you relate similar events. Because similar events
Correct.
happened, and you reinforced that okay, this title goes with this story also. This title goes with this story also. This title
Mm,
goes with this story also.
mm, nice.
Hi, good to see you, Ankita. How are you? Maybe some network issue at your end. I'm unable to hear you. We are unable to hear you. Okay, so let's talk about something very interesting tonight. This topic is something which, like I just put it in a very simple context. I call it the CCC rule. So CCC rule is, you can say it's a direct reflection of neuro linguistic programming. If you really want to know that how neuro linguistic programming works, and you just want to use one tool of neuro linguistic programming at any given point of time for your benefit, to empower you, to encourage you, to motivate you, then you can use this CCC rule. And the CCC rule is very interesting. It starts with a word called confusion. So if I ask you what confusion is for you, what according to you confusion is, what will be your answer?
So be unsure.
Okay. What else it could be?
Unclear.
Unclear. Okay.
uh,
What else it could be? Like when we have a few people in the session, then we get the best value out of such sessions, because everybody has their own interpretation about these words, and that gives us a new outlook that, oh yes, people think in this way also, people think in that way also. Otherwise our thoughts are limited within the story that we have experienced in our life. And so my story says that confusion is all about I am unclear about it, or I'm unsure about it. For somebody it will be a doubt also, that if I have a doubt, for me, a confusion is a doubt. And confusion is something which is a mess in my life. I'm wondering what to do now. Confusion is a state of mind where I'm unable to take a decision. Confusion is a state of mind where I'm unable to make a choice. Like, I have to choose between three things. Maybe say I have to make a final choice to buy a car. Now I'm finding it very troublesome for me. I'm confused which one to choose. So maybe I find three cars of three different models, three different brands at the same price point. And now I'm confused which one to buy, because when I'm saying that I will buy this one, I'm finding the other two to be like a thing like FOMO, fear of missing out. So if I go for this, then I will miss out on those features. If I go for that, then I will miss on this feature. So that is also part of confusion. Confusion also something that making a choice between buying a few dresses. So when you're in a mall, when you're in a shopping, area, you can say that I'm confused what to buy. I like this one also, I like this one, I like this one, but I have my purse fixed. I cannot go beyond this. So within this price, what can I buy? Which one should I buy? Which one should I go for? So that is a state of confusion. So confusion has many different hues for many different people. So confusion is a starting point. If you are confused with anything, and when you say that I'm confused, what is happening that you are bringing the experience of your confusion in that conversation. And you continually staying there. And now when you're talking to somebody and when the other person also saying, so what are you confused about? So when you are saying what are you confused about, that is creating a third confusion in your communication. Because you are confused about something, now you are trying your level best to use the right words or relevant words to express that perception of confusion that you have at that point of time to the other person who asked, who wanted to know what is the confusion all about.
Hello?
Now the other person also confused that whether this confusion is matching with his or her definition of confusion or not. So that creates a third confusion कि अब तो मैं इसको भी नहीं समझा पा रहा. मैं खुद confused हूँ and now I'm confused. How can I express or how can I pass this message on to this guy? I'm even confused how I can pass on this thought that what is going on in my mind. So that keeps the confusion live when you're using the word confused. Now the next best way to get out of that state of mind is using the word curiosity. The second C. So asking, what are you curious to know? When someone comes to you that I'm confused, immediately what you can do, you can just change that state of confusion into curiosity. So what are you curious to know? What do you want to know? Instead of asking the what are you confused about, you ask, what are you curious to know?
How would you answer that? Now, suppose you are confused with the car example. And if I ask you, what are you curious about? How would your answer be to me based on that example?
That depends on that person. What are you curious to know? And then
Suppose,
what you can
suppose now
suggest
the example
in case
you
of
gave.
car, in case of car,
uh,
what you can ask them that, okay, you just write down the features. So there are certain common features. It's okay. Take the uncommon ones and now prioritize. That will come later. So the question is, what are you curious to know? Let that person answer the question. It is not that you and I going to answer the question.
What is your definition of curious?
What might be curiosity?
Mm,
My definition of curiosity?
mm.
My definition of curiosity is that instead of being confused, let me figure out the questions that what I'm curious to know about this particular thing. So it is like asking the questions. Get into the questioning mode rather than staying into an assertive mode. The curiosity is that I got that you are confused, but tell me now, what are you curious to know about this? What are you curious to know about this? What are you curious to know? What are you curious about? That person may say that I am finding it difficult to make a choice, but okay, I got that. That it is not so easy. So what are you curious to know now? On what parameters would you like to make your choice? So what are you curious to know? So when you get into that curiosity mode, now you are asking yourself, I got that this is a mess around me. So what are you curious to know? In a situation, you can say, what is the situation? So immediately that confusion vanishes. The person says, I'm confused. You can have, what is the situation? If it is a buying decision, you can ask the person, what are you curious to know? So this is the second stage, to keep from moving that person from a confusion zone into a zone of curiosity. Now you are actually thinking rationally that what is important for me. Once you move into that second C, now comes the third C, and the third C is the most powerful C. This third C is all about clarity. What clarity are you looking for? So when someone comes to you and says that, or it could be even you are coming to yourself, that now I'm confused what to do. The next question is, what I'm curious to know. So what am I curious to know? Once I put them down, that these 2 to 3 things I am curious to know. Next question is, what clarity I am looking for. So like, which of these questions is the one where I should pay attention to right now? What clarity I'm looking for. So whatever clarity you're looking for, write them down. So writing them down is the most important activity. After all these things, it's not like keeping everything in mind. When you keep everything in mind, that is the source of the confusion, because you cannot connect the dots. When you put a little effort, putting it down, writing it down, actually, then you can see that where the confusion is happening. Which one is overlapping with what? Which one is on your priority list? Which one is at a lower on your priority list? That is the clarity point. Once you are clear about it, now you come to the last stage, which is making a choice. So had you been asked about to make a choice between this for somebody else, which one will you choose? Which one would you have suggested?
I found the clarity one very interesting. The confusion one, and the curiosity one. I guess my definition of curiosity is completely different.
Obviously, it
Um,
has to be.
yeah, so for me, that was bringing up a sensation of like someone, when I use that word, is um wanting to get their head into everything. So for
Okay.
me, it was that immediately that vision of someone wanting to poke their head in everything. Then when you said, what are you curious about? It sounded less like that, but still it was not uh, like sort of sinking in. But that last one that you gave, the clarity one, that word for me brings about, the clouds move and everything is clear. Just move all the clutter and then you'll be able to see things clearly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now what happens when somebody, for example, somebody is coming to you for a consultation, for an
Mm,
opinion. You know what happens? We just tell the other person, okay, you ask, and then immediately what we do normally, we connect with our own resources and we share our own views on it. And this
correct.
opinion may not work with the other person, because you are
Correct.
sharing from your own resources. That person has to connect it with his own resources. If that person is
Mm,
finding any disconnect, he or she may not follow it, and then you will tell yourself that you are wasting my time. You come to me, you take my opinion, and then you don't apply it.
mm,
You do not apply your opinion till they find any connection with their own resources. So whenever somebody comes to you, this is how you can do as a coach. Whenever someone asks or comes to you for any consultation, the first question you should ask is, what is the confusion?
Now that sounds right. Yeah.
What is the confusion?
Not why are you confused? What is?
What? No, it should not be asked with why. What is the confusion? Where is
Then
the
they're
confusion?
able to pin it down. Not then again you send them on a while
Yeah,
around in their head and make them more confused by saying, why are you confused?
absolutely. So you can
Yeah.
ask questions in this frame, that what is the confusion? You can also ask, where is the confusion? When you say where is the confusion, that person actually looks for. where he can find the confusion, where it is located.
Correct. So giving a direction
Yeah,
differently.
he or she doesn't know that she's actually looking for. So that person is also confused that where it is located inside his or her head. So ask them what is the confusion, and the next question is where it is located. So you're like, where is the confusion?
Mm.
So that's how
Very
you're
well.
starting the
Yeah,
consultation.
correct.
Before that
See,
person starts saying anything, you open up the conversation with this.
correct.
And as
I've
that person says,
noticed,
comes to
I've
these two
noticed
answers,
in, I've noticed in all relationships.
hmm,
Uh, I think the key to issues in any relationship, be it parent-child, be it partners, be it siblings, be it relatives, is the is their vocabulary and their comprehension of their own vocabulary and my comprehension and my vocabulary is is so different from each other that when we use words, how that person is interpreting it is completely different from what I was trying to say and what
exactly,
I'm trying to say. And I think all issues between people start like this
exactly,
misunderstanding of the word.
exactly. That is why the confusion, the story, the conversation should start with these questions. What is the confusion? And whatever that person says, ask second question, where is the confusion?
Hmm.
So let that person be more specific about it now. Then come to the next question, that what are you curious to know now? So we are talking about, you use the word now. This is the hypnotic language pattern that you're using. That what are you curious to know now? It's not what you are thinking for last so many years or so many months or so many days.
Hmm.
It's all about now.
No.
So what are you curious to know now? Let that person answer. See, your job is not to listen to what the person is saying. Your job is to ask the relevant question at the relevant time.
And they're listening to their own answers.
Exactly. They are listening to their own answers. You are not even supposed to listen to their answers. Then you will be biased.
Hmm.
Because you will be making meaning out of it. Like, oh, acha, ye mean kar raha hai, ye wo mean kar raha hai. Acha, probably, oh, acha, you are going through this. I know many people who are going through this. So you are distorting that whole conversation inside here, where you are supposed to be just at the complete active listening mode. So तू जो बोल रहा है मैं वही सुन रहा हूँ. I'm not making any meaning out of it.
Hmm.
I may even forget it after this conversation is over.
Hmm. Correct.
So it has nothing to do with my life. It is everything to do with your life. My role, my responsibility to ensure that I can connect you to your own resources so that you stay with that new thoughts, new idea, new impression with you. You do not need to go back to anybody else for that after this conversation.
Beautiful.
And that's the last question is that second last question rather, that so what clarity are you looking for? Now let that person and ask them to write it down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever clarity they're looking for. Now they're there. Now ask them the last question of which one do you want to choose? Or I would say, koi aur hota, if it had been somebody else, what would have been your advice? If these are the choices, what would have been your advice? Now you are making him actually neutral, complete biasless for self.
Hmm.
If this had been somebody else,
What would
which one which would you have advised?
So everything is you're reflecting it back onto that.
Now, when you ask this last question, magic वहां पे होता है. That last question. What happens that now you are detaching that person from the results, from the outcomes.
Hmm.
Detachment is very, very important.
Very deep.
Unless you get into the detached state, you cannot take the final call.
Correct.
You
The
know, लोग
devotion
दूसरों
clouds
को
you.
advice देना बहुत पसंद करते हैं. They feel proud of themselves. They feel that oh, I have some authority that I'm advising somebody.
Correct.
So what happens when you ask this question, that if it had been somebody else, what you would have advised, he actually gets into that authority mode.
Hmm.
He gets into that or she gets into the authoritative mode, और जो भी बोल रहा है ना खुद सुन रहा है. और उसको पता है कि वो क्या बोल रहा है.
You make them feel bigger instead of smaller.
Exactly. You make him big and that incident small. And once he comes with that last option, that which one he would have advised, you can ask him. So you got your answer, right? You are not saying that what you want to do now. You got your answer, right? This should be the last 4 words or 5 words. You got your answer, right? So you got your answer with a pause, comma kind of thing, then asking, right?
What a beautiful way.
It's a very powerful technique, supremely powerful technique, which whereby you can actually give anybody an experience of NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming.
Beautiful.
You know? And you will be surprised, Bhavna, this person will never forget it. And this person will always remember, always think that you gave him the solution. क्योंकि वो एक प्रॉब्लम लेके आया था, आपने प्रॉब्लम शब्द का इस्तेमाल नहीं किया. So that person will always feel that you gave him the solution. He will never notice that he actually created the solution for himself. He came out with the option, he came out with the answers. And since it is purely connected with his own resources, क्योंकि आपने तो कोई टिप्पणी दी नहीं, he will never forget that answer. We know that what to do, how to do, when to do, and what to do and where to do.
Very nice. Thank you, sir. It helps so much for myself itself to do this on myself also.
Exactly.
And not
Starts
only
with
for
self.
to actually apply this on myself in times of so-called word confusion. Just to take a paper and put these things down and then look at it and say, okay, now things are more clear. Like you said, pen to paper is very important to bring
Very
it all
important,
down.
extremely important. You know what
So
happens?
this is
It comes from your brain and goes out on a piece of paper. So now you can
correct.
see it in front of you. It is no more there in your head. It is not there. They are not clashing with each other or counteracting with each other or conflicting with each other. Otherwise, all these thoughts were conflicting with each other. सब एक दूसरे के साथ झगड़ा कर रहे हैं, collide कर रहे हैं. They are all colliding with each other. Now, the moment you put them on a piece of paper, they are not there anymore. They are in front of you, and they are all independently. You can see them. Alag, 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 alag.
So this is something you practice with somebody, even pen to paper. Yeah.
In my live sessions, I do this even with, I go another step ahead. I just ask them to come with a pencil and an eraser. And I say, whichever is not important, just erase them.
Lovely.
So now you're left with whichever is important for.
So the paper also looks clean instead of scratching all over.
Yeah, otherwise, even if you cut it, it shows up, right? It is there. You know that it is there. Though you have strike it off, whatever you have done with that, but you know it is there.
Yeah. This way
ब्रेन
the
में
mind
मैसेज
also
हमेशा रहता है, वो तो
sees
है वहां पे, तूने लिखा तो था.
it.
Card diya, but it is still there. It is still on that paper.
Yeah.
And you know that behind that card, it is still lying there.
Just erase it.
Yeah.
And
So
then
when
it's
it
like
is
how you empty the trash can, no, in your
yes,
mind
yes,
also.
yes, yes.
Just put it in there and it's gone.
So even if you don't have a paper and a pen, but you can do this, and this activity you can do anywhere. You just need a tissue paper. That's it. Even if you're sitting as a MACD, कुछ नहीं, खाली उनको बोलना यार एक पेन देना और एक टिश्यू पेपर देना. Even if you don't have a pen, they will give you.
Correct. Instead of holding everything in your mind, overload, and then by the end of it, there is so much that there's actually, like you said, no clarity. And it's just clutter, and then there's more anxiety that builds in a human being.
Exactly. In fact, many of us are victims of overthinking just because of this. Because all these thoughts are colliding among each other. When you write it down, now you're not thinking about them anymore. Which one is important for me, which one is colliding with which one is overlapping with which one. You do not need to get into those confusion anymore. Overthinking khatam ho gaya. Now you are thinking.
Mm.
Once
Definitely.
overthinking is out on a piece of paper, now you are back to thinking. ओवर जो था वो निकल गया ना, वो तो ओवरफ्लो कर रहा था, उसको निकाल दो, खत्म हो गया. So this CCC rule is a very powerful tool. It is not exactly documented in this way in any neural NLP documentation or book. But this I am just sharing you with my own experiences. I found it extremely powerful and very handy.
Sounds sounds
Very
very
handy.
powerful.
Very handy.
Yeah.
Just fixed questions. Questions are absolutely fixed. What is the confusion? Where is the confusion? What are you curious to know now? What clarity are you looking for? So what are the choices you have? You put down all the choices, and then if this has been somebody else, what you would have advised it.
Mm.
And the last question. So you got the answer right.
Yeah, all triggers.
All
Yeah.
triggers. And these are all hypnotic language patterns. Actually, you are applying
Mm.
hypnosis
Mm. Mm. Mm.
in real time, real life situation.
Correct. And in awake state.
And once you learn that art, then you can do it on your own. You don't need to go to somebody else to get yourself
Mm.
into a state of clarity.
Correct.
This I called self-empowerment industry. Like it's all about self-education industry, which is going on everywhere. People are doing
Mm.
something so that you educate yourself. The kind of work that
Mm.
I am doing is all about self-empowerment. Like, at least for this thing, you don't need to come back to me again. You know that
Mm.
तरीका यही है. दो तीन बार करो, brain को समझ में आ जाएगा. Subconscious will be expert enough to understand what to be done, and then you can
Yeah.
actually have these experiences within minutes. You don't need to go through a long session.
Mm.
खटक 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 हो जाए.
And the body calms down then, no? Because otherwise it's on such a hyper mode, the whole nervous system is going haywire because there's an overload, and then you get no, at the end of all of that, you're still sitting in that entire jalebi,
Exactly. And
confused.
this overload is another very derogatory word.
Hmm.
It is not to be used in any conversation.
Hmm.
Do not use the word lower overload in any confusion, any conversation. Even when you are saying that thinking like thought overload or whatever, normally we use these
Hmm.
kind of words.
Hmm.
Do not use this word at all. The moment you are using this word, you are bringing that experience in that conversation.
Feeling, yeah, that feeling of heaviness.
Yeah. जरूरत ही
Do
नहीं,
you have
छोड़.
a list of words, sir, that like are words that uh, should not, like you said, it should not be used? Do you have like a list of words that one can just look at and then realize, start changing the vocabulary?
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
you brought this to my notice. Now I'll be more conscious not to use the word. Because then I'm giving the message of heaviness, that everything is just too heavy to deal with. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
Yeah. So
Yes,
if you
Ankita,
have
how was
any,
it for you? With all this new awareness, what do you see possible for yourself?
Firstly, if I am confused, I will ask myself, what is the confusion and where is the confusion? That is the main trigger. Where means we are simply thinking it is into air. Where we cannot see, it is just imagination. And what am I deriving out of it? The curiosity. Sir, I'm healing myself here, I think. If this is more than enough to come out of that overthinking zone.
Do not use this word healing. Never use that word. Because when you use the word healing, it gives a sense of some kind of sickness is there in the body.
Fitness, huh?
So do not use the word healing.
So
Like
I
it is,
have one doubt.
yeah.
Uh, Now, if I'm talking to someone, how should we know whether that person is uh, willing to talk to us? Means what sort of questions we should ask so that relationships they they get hampered because of this thing only, So we cannot know anyone's mind, right? Then you become a mind reader. So how to overcome that misunderstanding zone in
Start
any area?
start with reading your own mind. Many times we don't even read our own minds.
We simply
Forget
keep on
about,
talking.
forget about reading others' mind. We are not even in a position to read our own minds.
Means
So
when
that's
we
why
go to a new
that is why
place,
this question, like I can ask the same question to you. What is the confusion?
when you go to new place or meet new people,
So
so that
when
is a
I go to
hesitation.
new place, the first confusion is you. So replace it with I, because it is with you, it is not with anybody else.
Sorry, yeah. When I go to new place, yeah.
So it starts with me first. It's all about me.
Yeah.
It's my perception, my thinking. मुझे ऐसा लगता है. How do you know that it is exactly like that for anybody else? It's all about
Yes.
it's in my reality, this is it. According to my model of the world, this is it. In fact, that is
Okay.
the biggest source of most of the confusions in life. What is the confusion and where is the confusion? The confusion is here, it is not with anybody else. However, we say, when you do this, when we do this, and we अरे अपनी बात करो ना, जब अपनी अपने अपने आप पे काम करना है. एग्जाम खुद को लिखना है, खुद को पास करने के लिए क्यों दूसरों की बात करो? Why you are saying when we write this answer, how do you know how they are writing their answer? Everybody is using their own words, own wisdom. So when I write this answer, when I solve this problem, when I work on this equation, it's when you work on it only then you will get rewarded. आपका मार्क्स आपके एग्जामिनर आपके कॉपी में ही देगा ना.
So one realization I got, when I use the word I immediately become alert. Okay, what I'm speaking.
एकदम खटाक से
And when
खटाक
I'm using we, I'm not even aware that I'm using that word.
exactly.
Because when that just happens,
Absolutely. That's why I force people to use in the talk in the first person. Many times people share their stories and they say we, they say you. Many times they also say, and you know. How do you know that I know? So it's an internal confirmation that I'm looking, internal validation that I'm looking for. Whenever I'm saying, and you know, if the person is silent, that means I'm getting validated. That yes, he's listening to me. That person may not be listening to you at all, and you are falsely validating yourself. है ना? हर बातों पे कुछ लोग हैं बोलते हैं राइट राइट, अगेन दे आर एक्सपेक्टिंग वैलिडेशन. दो सेंटेंस बोलेंगे देन दे विल से राइट. There are many people like, okay, let's take a photograph. So everyone on camera, look at the camera, keep your eyes wide open, and let's count 1, 2, 3 together. So here we go, 1, 2. Brilliant. So wonderful session. Actually, it's a very powerful, very insightful session. I was thinking about maybe a lot of people will be joining, and then we will have more powerful sessions. But you guys are lucky; you are getting almost a one-on-one session with. You know,
Yeah, the
so
word lucky.
yes.
Yeah, yes.
it's a true representation of the word lucky.
Yes, I believe. Thank you.
All right. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
um, I wanted to understand this whole aspect of how mm, to form sentences correctly.
How
How to form sentences correctly.
how to form sentences correctly.
Yeah. How do you, mm, is this also taught in this NLP process where your sentence formation is worked on, how you put the words together, and then how,
I'm giving you one example. Okay, let me put it this way. So I'm saying this is a book written by Brian Tracy only on goals. So I use the word only.
Mm.
Okay. This is a book written by Brian Tracy only on goals. Now you use this word only anywhere in the sentence and you see what happens. Just replace, just use the word only anywhere in the sentence. So let me start with the first one. Let me put it at the beginning. I said, this is a book by Brian Tracy on goals. Only this is the book by Brian Tracy on goals. बदल गया sentence.
Mm.
This is the only book by Brian Tracy on goals. बदल गया sentence.
Mm.
This is a book by Brian Tracy on goals only. बदल गया.
Mm.
Just imagine, just replacing a word at different parts of the sentence. पूरा sentence का मतलब ही बदल देता, meaning ही बदल देता.
So then how do you understand another person's vocabulary? Are you meant to understand someone else's vocabulary?
You need to join my training programs for that.
Ah, okay. No, but are you meant to? Are you in this process that your training process? Are you like I said that each one has their own vocabulary. In this process, are you supposed to focus on their vocabulary or you just focus on triggers
See,
and let them
fundamentally, yeah, both. I would say both. Fundamentally, to observe what kind of words that person is using. Like you are using more auditory words in your communication. So you are using the word resonate. You are
Mm,
using the word sound. You are using the word I hear. Like if you listen to
mm,
the conversation, this will be recorded. So you can listen to your own recordings. You will observe that you are using these words. So when I
mm.
am talking to you, I am also using similar words. That's why you are
Ah,
excited to know.
okay, okay.
Now, Ankita is a kind of person who is more or less, she looks for logical reasoning.
Mm, 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 mm.
I'm talking to her from logical reasoning point. I'm using the word right. You know why I'm saying this to her? Because she uses these kind of concepts.
Mm,
No. Right now, her logical thing is coming up. Right now, that logical part is more active or more prominent. इसको हम बोलते हैं
mm,
auditory
mm.
digital in LP.
Oh, okay.
Talking to
So there's a difference.
self-talking. So a lot of self-talking is going on, and you are also asking yourself, am I getting the message right? Or is this the right interpretation? So when I was talking to her, I also use these words, but in a different way. I said that
Mm,
people say this way.
mm,
People use this word, you know.
mm, 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 mm.
My intention is to ensure that whatever I say, that message has to go to her. Now, this is
So you're
possible
able
as
to pick it.
you go on listening to people. You need to identify what kind of words they are using at that point of the time
Mm,
conversation.
mm,
Okay. The best thing is to ask questions जहाँ पे आपको दिमाग लगाने की जरूरत ही नहीं.
mm.
So what is the confusion? पता वो उसको बोलना तो अपना confusion जिस language में बोलना है.
Got it. Mhm. Got it.
If you want to note down, you note down that what kind of language patterns that person is using. Auditory है,
Mm,
visual है, kinesthetic है, like feeling based है. Like then sometimes I feel like I am a feeling based person. इसके साथ जब हम बात करेंगे, we should be using that kind of at least intonation, if not the words.
mm,
It's like asking the person that you are asking that. So what are you confused about? You can ask this question with a feeling tone also. Okay, so what are you confused about?
mm.
सवाल वही है, but you discover that he's a kind of person who is जिसके लिए feeling is very important, feeling is predominant.
Correct.
आपने थोड़ा सा इंटोनेशन चेंज कर दिया, थोड़ा सा सवाल पूछने का तरीका चेंज, बॉडी लैंग्वेज चेंज कर दिया.
Mm,
Like if I'm talking to a lady, I use this body language. Lady ऐसे बात करती है ना, तोबा kind of. And that if that lady at the same time is logical, auditory digital, I'll ask this question in exactly this way. If that person is visual, I'll say, oh, I see. So what are you confused about? मैंने पहले उसको सी इसलिए बोला so that I can connect with that person and discover that he is at this point of time, that person is displaying his visual traits. हो सकता है विजुअल नहीं है लेकिन इस वक्त तो है ना, मुझे उसके साथ रैपो बिल्ड करना, नहीं तो क्यों मेरा सुनेगा.
Interesting. Nice. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. In fact, I must thank you that at least because you came, I could share all these experiences that I am having for so many years. मुझे भी बताने के लिए लोगों की जरूरत है, नहीं तो मैं अकेला अपने आप को क्या क्या बता सकता हूँ, है ना. So gratitude from the bottom of my heart to both of you for coming here in this session and making this time worth for me. At least मैं अपना तो जरूर सुनूंगा रिकॉर्डिंग. तो मेरे लिए तो बहुत बड़ी गिफ्ट है by you attending this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.